Boom, we're live. Modern Relics Podcast. I'm Angel. He's Lucky. We're back. I've titled tonight's episode Podicus Maximus on the YouTube. I'm hoping to get some of that theater crowd with the caption, "Are you not entertained?" I don't know if I'll get any, but we're going to give it a spin, dude. How are you?
I'm really good. I've had a pretty fun, pretty good week.
YouTube.
So, like I said last week, work has picked up pretty dramatically, so it's kept me busy, which I like to be. I don't like a lot of downtime. I don't know what to do with myself with leisure activity or leisure downtime, so I try to avoid it if I can. The sun is coming out.
Yeah.
So, I'm really looking forward to getting Kate's truck out of the garage so we can kind of start clearing it out and actually making room for a gym in there and actually put the gym together in the garage like we've been planning.
Yeah.
But overall, yeah. We've got another Friday the 13th coming up this week. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Is that like supercharging the business activity? Is having these back to back in as many months?
I don't know. This last one that we had was drastically more busy than the previous one and the one before that. They were okay. They did all right, but this one was gangbusters.
Yeah.
Now, having them two in a row, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know if we'll have the same turnout as we did in February. I'm hoping to. We're doing a lot of promotion on it, and it's kind of a, St. Patrick's Day themed situation. So, which is relevant to the Friday the 13th, but it's also relevant just to me because that is my wedding anniversary.
And you're Irish.
And I'm Irish. So, but yeah, my wedding anniversary, we got married in 2005. This is our 21st wedding anniversary. Last year was our 20th.
To say out loud.
I know, right? Yeah. So, but yeah, we are very happy to be able to put 21 years behind us. That was phrased improperly. We are happy that we've gotten through 21 years.
I just see you sitting down with the kids. You know, guys, when people love one another as much as me and your mom used to. Thanks. 21 years behind us. That's great.
I'm actually very, very grateful. And my kids have actually said this to us out loud, which is pretty encouraging, is that they like that their parents are obviously still in love, that we still flirt with each other, that we still like each other and hang out with each other, that a lot of their friends don't have that. Even if they're still together, their parents aren't like as obviously in love as we are. So I am shocked, but also it seems like I can't believe it's been 21 years,
honestly, I can't either. Like, I blink my eyes and like 6 or 8 months goes by, you know what I mean? I'm like,
right.
But that's it is an accomplishment. That's really, really awesome. Cause I mean, nowadays marriages don't last that long anyway. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Pretty excited about it. We got this year I'm getting her a couch. We need a new couch. We have more people in our house due to our kids having significant others and friends and stuff.
Gotta get that sectional healing, you know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah. So and that's what we're doing. We're getting that. Last time, I got her a new couch 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. And as you can probably hear, we have yapper dogs that live on that couch. So it's time. And so, but I also got us a cabin with a hot tub that is in a small town outside of Sandpoint called Hope, Idaho. And so we've got dinner reservations and then a hot tub cabin out in the middle of nowhere. And so we'll be doing that for just a night. We're just going to go do that for a night. Nice. And then but yeah, looking forward to it. Anniversary is something that we always enjoy because we always try to do something. Last year for our 20th, we went down to Vegas, stayed with you, and then went down to Havasu and had a good time down there. This year I gave her the option of going someplace warm, or a new couch, and it was a tough decision, but she chose the couch. So I was like, all right, I guess we'll freeze on a couch. That'll be nice. But yeah, so that's what's been going on with that. This last week, one of the highlights was after church we got together with a dear friend who is actually a Christian radio host by the name of Glenn Campbell, and his wife Karen, who we've become friends with over the last 5 years. And
with a name like that, it sounds like a radio personality too. Like you might have been born for.
He looks like a cross between if Kelsey Grammer and Billy Graham had
perfect
merged. Yeah,
like he do looks all exactly of his in studio stuff in black and white for the rest of time, and just what that name conjures up old radio images with the big microphones with the mesh on them, and the big radio station logo with the lightning bolts coming out of the antenna and all that. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. And he's got the perfect voice for it. But they're just amazing amazing people. We just love the Campbells, and we have for a long time. But for the last, and I'm not joking, I'm not being facetious, the last 2 years, nearly every Sunday when we see them at church, we talk about getting together for dinner. And one of the things that got brought up to Glenn was that I play chess.
Yeah.
And that just lit him up. And from that point on, that was kind of what it was about, was to get us over to play chess with me. And it was because he absolutely loves it. He plays it every day. He has such a great time with chess. He plays it with his son. He has other friends that he plays with. And his wife, shortly after they got married, they haven't been married very long. It's kind of one of those after divorce marriages that they just were meant to be together kind of things. And she got him this really nice chess table that he loves, just playing people on this chess table. And we'd been planning and planning. We finally made it happen. And so for the last week and a half, I've been trying to kind of find some time in my schedule, which I was just complaining that if I have, any free time, I don't know what to do with it. I should have been doing this, but I should have been warming up and brushing up on my rusty chess skills, because I hadn't played in years.
Yeah.
Like I taught the kids how to play. And then from there, I think I played my uncle once or twice. And from there, I helped a friend who had a pretty traumatic brain injury from a motorcycle accident. I would go over to his house once a week and to help him with his cognitive abilities and kind of get them going. I would force him to play chess with me. And it was pretty frustrating for him for the first couple of months. And then after that, he started. But I mean, I'm playing somebody with a brain injury, so I wasn't really going like full throttle.
Right. We're not counting those statistics in our World Masters March. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So I just kind of was just showing him how to play again, reminding him what pieces could go where, and trying to draw out aggression in him, because that's actually a cognitive display of appropriate attachment to emotion and appropriate attachment to not being afraid of trying and moving forward, is having kind of aggressive play within chess. So that was kind of my focus. But even that was 3 years ago. I haven't touched a chessboard since. And so it's always been something I've always been super fond of, and played a ton as a kid. My stepdad was a high school chess champion. And I grew up, for those that don't know, I grew up in the middle of the woods beyond power and phone. We had a generator to watch TV, a couple of nights a week, and to have the lights on.
Your first wristwatch was a little sundial.
Right. Yeah. But we played a lot of board games, but my stepdad taught me and my two brothers how to play chess. And I mean, when I say we played a lot of chess, I mean we played 10 games a day at the minimum, and it got to the point where being brothers, even chess can get to the competitive point where it ends up in blows, and you're like punching each other over a chessboard.
Any situation can divulge into a blood sport at any time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then there came a day when I was 15 or 16. My stepdad, who rarely played with us, but occasionally we could talk him into it. I played him and I beat him. And he was such a competitive man that it pissed him off so bad he never played me again. And so from there, I would play online a lot. I would play, during the early online, like AOL days where with the dial-up. That's what I would do. I would play chess when I moved back from California to Idaho, in Dalton Gardens. I would play chess at my parents' house on the computer with people from all over the country. And so I spent a lot of time playing chess when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Once I had kids, it fell by the wayside until years later when I kind of dabbled in it to show them and dabbled in it to help a friend and that. But outside of that, I was pretty much resigned myself that when I was going over to Glenn's house, that it was like this, I was going to get trampled. And I was like, this is going to be a bloodbath, and I'm okay with it. Like, this is more for the friendship and the companionship and the fact that we've been planning this for a long time. And so,
yeah, you don't just go to a friend of yours house from church that you've been negotiating for years, and upon first arrival, not only slaughter him at chess, and like just throw open the fridge and take one of his beers and put on his slippers and just march out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you did, didn't you? You killed him.
I did. Yeah, I did. And I think he kind of went into it because I think he thinks I kind of pool sharked him. Mm-hmm. And because I was talking myself down a lot, I was like, no, I'm super rusty. I haven't played in years. And Aaron was confirming it for me. And he even mentioned that. He goes, this is going to be like one of those pool shark things where
as you're discussing your disadvantages, you're opening up a suitcase and putting a timer on the, one of those rocker timers and stuff. And you're setting $100 bills on the table, like no reason.
I was like,
friendly game.
Yeah, no, let me crack my fingers and all right, let's go. But no, I just sat down with a cup of coffee, and the ladies opted to play dominoes, which Aaron had never played officially before, the actual rules. And Karen taught her how to play, and of course, involving numbers and stacking things, my wife was down. All of a sudden, she bought a domino set yesterday because now she's totally into dominoes. I didn't tell her that we had a set downstairs already, but yeah. So that being said, we played 3 games.
Later, your wife is like, Baccarat. I'm actually liking this. Like, no.
Right. So we get into the first game, and I mean, I swear, like, I was just gonna go in and kind of just with no strategy, because I don't even know the names of the strategies. I don't know the openings. I don't know. There's all these kind of technical terms that real true chess players actually know. And I'm sure at one point I knew some of them, but I don't anymore. I don't know anything. And so I started just kind of like sloppily moving forward. I was like, I'm just going to kind of go and see how I feel and just get the juices flowing and
wait
see
for a couple games before employing the Stratocaster defense or whatever.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so I go in and I'm starting to very early in the game starting to dominate pieces. And I'm like, and he's like scratching his head going, oh man, I didn't see that. And I was like, oh, I thought he was trying to trap me. And within a matter of a 15 to 20 minute game, I checkmated him.
Nice.
And he folded, and I was like, oh, I won. And he was kind of shocked too. You can see he was like, oh, that was a fluke. Okay, let's play another one. So
that's where the money comes out, right?
Well, he starts building. I start building traps for him, and I've already taken quite a few of his pieces, and I'm starting to draw like remembering what I used to do, how I used to draw in pieces and create avenues for them to go or lure them, and so I started doing that, and he made a fatal error with his queen. He pulled his queen over, and it was in direct line of like a rook move that would have left me, like, it would have taken out his queen, but then at the same time my rook would have been completely untouched. So it was like a real bad move, and I gave him a mulligan on it. I was like, like, do you want to take that one back? And he kind of looked at me. He was like, I shouldn't, but yes, it was a big mistake. So then he pulls that one back, and we're sitting there, and about 4 or 5 moves later, I had him on the run, and he moved a piece just to kind of get it out of danger, and he pulls it in kind of up close to a certain area in my backboard, and I look down and I'm like, oh shit, that's checkmate on me.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't realize it. I had to tell him that it was a checkmate move. I was like, that's checkmate. And he goes, what? And I was like, yeah, I can't move, and I can't take that guy out, and I can't block. And he goes, oh, all right, well, checkmate. So he accidentally won game 2.
Nice.
And that, leaving myself open to that, I didn't realize that, I was even in that kind of considered danger. But then the next one, I was like, okay, I'm not losing 2. And I just went in, and instead of like using strategy to draw people, to draw his pieces in, or to try to corner him into any type of check scenario or checkmate scenario, my whole goal was to eliminate every piece he had on the board. And that's what I did. And then we were 3 moves away from me cornering him with my rooks for a full trap. But so he just folded his king over and just went. But yeah, I eliminated every other piece that he had on the board. And I don't know, like he was so gracious about it. But I could tell there was a little like kind of like, huh, like, okay, because up until that point they had mentioned that he'd never lost in years.
Mm-hmm.
Like he plays his son all the time, he plays other people, and he wins every time. And so I expected to get slaughtered, and I was going to be gracious about it and go, but we're over at your house, you're hosting. I'm
right.
Totally okay with being rusty at chess and playing a guy who plays pretty frequently. It's not going to hurt my ego to lose to somebody like that. But he was so gracious, but I could see that he was kind of scratching his head like, oh, dang. He's actually pretty good at this, and so it was fun. I really, and to the point now where he talked me into putting a chess app on my phone, and now we're playing. Currently, it's probably my move right now, but currently on the phone, I've got a game going, and I'm really kind of ignited this love of chess, which really has sculpted the game of chess. I think really had a huge impact and sculpted how my thought process and for everyday life has gone. The older I get, and the more kind of into politics I get, the more into kind of the social aspect of a lot of things that we're involved in. Chess seems to be something that I learned the most from, as far as how to navigate certain situations. And everything can kind of be applied to chess as a strategy of how to navigate a room full of people who may not like you very much, or to kind of make sure that the elements of an argument kind of go your way. And I have recognized that it was due to all of that, that kind of during, especially my formative years, that really kind of molded my brain to make me kind of view everything in life, all of my decision making, in a form of chess. And so I should have a giant chess tattoo, and I don't. I think that might be one of my next ones I'm gonna get, is a big old chess tattoo, because it just makes sense. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Really reignited kind of an old love that I had, and I think I probably plan on playing it quite a bit more. So
I think that's great. Like, I know what all the pieces do, like how they move across the board. I don't know how to play chess. Like, I can move the pieces accurately and get killed every single time. And furthermore, one rainy day, a lifetime ago, I was playing chess with somebody, and they said the word castle and then reconfigured several pieces on their side of the board, just all in one move. And I thought that was magic. And I was like, I don't know what any of this means. I'm not doing any of this. And then I lost again. And that was it. I was like, wow, I don't get it. I've seen people that, like, I think you can get a rating. Like, you can play a bunch of different computers and people and get some sort of, I'm a level 400 wizard at, chess, or whatever they rate themselves at. And it seems like there's a lot of controversy about people cheating at chess online and stuff. But there are tons of people that I have met throughout my life that are also very good at chess, or they say they're very good at chess. It's never been one of those things that I ever had a knack or a talent at. I could probably have better luck configuring a chess board out of raw materials. And getting the dimensions of how to build a machine better than actually how to execute those pieces, which is funny because I work in a primarily strategy-driven role.
And well, on top of that, you also
key strength of mine in the workplace, but I don't know how to play chess.
Right. A lot of your hobbies too are very similar. Like, you play a lot of Magic: The Gathering, which is a strategy game, right? And they all have rules and components.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you understand it on a real strong level. But you tend to be able, like, I think you would actually excel at chess if somebody actually kind of played you and actually kind of gave you the ropes a little bit better. And then at that point, I think that you would probably do very, very well in chess, just because I know how your brain works. And I think that it would actually make a lot of sense to you once you get to that point. But yeah, I think that maybe next time I come down, or we can bust out a chessboard and we'll play a couple games. So.
Yeah, I remember somebody tried to teach me how to play chess one time, and it was like a pawn moved forward, and then it was my turn again, and I was about to touch a piece, and they're like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "Nope." And then I looked at it again, and I reached for another piece, and they're like, "It's move two." Like, I don't like one of these pieces has to go forward, or else it's going to be my turn forever, right? Like, at some point, I have to move a piece on the board, and that's not a way to learn. You know what I mean? When like you're with somebody golfing, and they're like, "You want to know what you're doing wrong?" You're like, "No, not yet." Like, can I get frustrated at my performance at this first and then seek guidance before, so it just wasn't, it was never in the cards. But I get my ass kicked at chess every time I play. I'm fantastic at Chinese checkers, though. I can hop around and build patterns, and pattern recognition I'm wonderful at. Like those, those like 9x9s that are like, look at this image for 5 seconds and then it goes black. Now reconfigure the image you just saw. I'm wonderful at that. But I've never been able to think 16 moves ahead. Like, this piece will be on that square in 9 moves or less. Watch this. Like, I've never been that guy.
It's and there's a lot of fluid thought with it too, because what your plan was, 2 moves ago now has to change, and you have to use this completely other strategy because they didn't do what you thought, what you predicted they were going to do, or it was close to it but not quite. So
one of the coolest,
you kind of have to be fluid in that, where you have to kind of be adaptable and be able to change strategy mid strategy. And so
I think one of the coolest scenes in modern movies is in the second Robert Downey Jr. Guy Ritchie Sherlock, where it's him against Moriarty, and they do that whole like conversation with one another, but no one's talking, and it's over a chessboard the whole time in between bits of dialogue as they're called move to one another. And I thought that was always really cool. It's like, because I imagine that's in a less dramatic way how players are trying to play against one another. It's like, I have a strategy, but I have to be adaptable if you don't fall into what I think you're going to do. And then I have to move and redeploy, and you're going to see that. And then you're going to have to counter it with either an offense or a defensive move and stuff. It seems very high stakes for a game that's never been very high stakes to me, but it's cool when other people can do it. So the good news, so here's positives. One, we've re-engaged with something you used to like to do a lot. 2, we have somebody that's pretty good at the game that you can play with on the regular. And 3, we finally made it over to dinner after 2 years of threatening. And you're still friends after this game. It wasn't like a Monopoly. Someone collected too much rent. The board was flipped. No one's talking to one another anymore, kind of thing.
No, it was wonderful. We had a great time.
Nice.
We had gone to lunch prior, and then just kind of hung out. We learned a lot about them and their story, and they kind of learned a lot about us, because we knew a little about each other, but not really kind of the in-depth stuff. So it was a real good exchange of that, and they are some of the most gracious people. They had a prayer warriors group that take on people's prayer requests and spend a lot of time praying for those people in groups, and they send them down prayer chants and stuff. They're just amazing people. And he had run for school board like 4 or 5 years, about 5 years ago. And he was one of the 3 that we wanted to win that didn't win. And then Karen actually got elected to the library board like 2 years ago. And so we've been kind of tangentially, in their arenas of life due to those things, and just them also going to church with us. So we saw them frequently, but just never in a much more intimate kind of situation where we were actually sitting in their house, just the 4 of us talking, breaking bread, and spending time with each other. So it was really good to kind of connect on that level. And it is a weird thing, and it does not I often have to pause and think and kind of shake my head, and I do see the irony in a lot of it, but it is hilarious to me that at this age of 47, as a old punk rock tattoo guy who has seen the seedier sides of life, that most of my friends in this area specifically are of an age range that could be like my father, my father's age. Like, Aaron and I spend an enormous amount of time with older people, and it was never like something that we had ever planned. It just, because of the circumstances of our lives and the types of arenas we decided to spend energy in, tends to have retired folk in them. And we have kind of been embraced by a lot of them, and we're hated by a lot of other ones, but it is an interesting kind of thing. I have to kind of like uh look back and go, man, 25-year-old me, 35-year-old me would not have seen 47-year-old me, or 45-year-old me hanging out with primarily the boomer generation. Like, not entirely, but like the 70% of the people we hang out with up here are of that age range. And it is a very weird kind of dynamic, and I think equally for them, because they're hanging out with this young tattoo artist guy, like, and all their kids are like, wait, your friend is a tattoo artist, Dad? Like, what are you talking about? Like, Mom, what are you talking about? You're hanging out with a tattoo artist and his wife. Like, it's hilarious when I get recommendations from people of my age range or younger that are like, my dad recommended you to me, and that blew my mind that my dad even knows a tattoo artist, let alone that one that he trusts. And so it is a weird dynamic that we've created in this town, but it's entertaining. So
yeah, most of the people where I live are much older than me around, and those are who I communicate with the most. And truly enjoy spending time getting to know my neighbors and stuff. And that struck me, I don't know, a year ago or so, where I was like, man, most of the people that you are around are significantly, not a little bit, but significantly older than you are. I wonder what they think of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you're heavily tattooed. Like,
I scared everybody when I got here. I had Washington license plates. There's a big motorcycle on the back of my truck that's being unloaded. There's tattoos everywhere. It's like, oh no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you could see the abject terror. And I played with that for a while. They would walk by, they would just see my eyeballs through the blinds, and then I would like kind of disappear for a little bit.
You got visited by a bunch of the old ladies from the neighborhood to come use your oven.
That was great.
Point in time.
That was great.
Just to check in on you. Yeah.
This is a fun story. So I still have boxes unpacked in my kitchen at this time. And my goal was, because it's just me doing all this stuff, is every day you're going to deal with a box. And you will diminish this stack of boxes by one per day, because I have a full-time work schedule. I've got this I have to clean, that's breaking down. So moving in and nesting is kind of lower and lower on the priority list. Regardless, there's stuff in the kitchen on the floor in boxes. And at the time, I had put up a couple of interactive Twitch streams where I was going to the store. I would put up on my Discord and one of the channels an ingredients list. And if the viewers wanted to go buy the ingredients at their local store, they could cook dinner with me in real time. And then we would compare notes on how things turned out based on what people were using. So it was just a fun way to cook. And part of that, I have a big ring light in this office here. There's a little camera mount for the ring light. That's what I was using in the kitchen. So I got headset on, I'm cooking and whatever. Well, all these things are kind of left out. There's boxes. And I moved the ring light out of the way, and it happened to be facing right at my fireplace, because I have a two-way fireplace. You can see it from the living room side and from the dining room area. And this is important to remember. So I'm in the house. I'm doing something. My very old lady neighbor comes by with something in her hand, and she knocks on the door, and I open it up, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she's frantic. She's like, I have a church group coming over. Was this directly the one that you help out with the garbages? Yes. I don't want to name her, but got it. Exactly that. And she's like, I'm in a bind. I have church group coming. I have this giant chicken pot pie, essentially from Costco, that I'm going to serve at this thing. They'll be here very soon. I can't use my oven in my own house because I put it in a cleaning cycle an hour ago, and it's too hot and it won't unlock. So I can't cook in it until it decides to unlock itself for safety reasons. Can I use your oven? Yeah, I don't care. So she comes in, we throw it in the oven, we get all that set up, we'll put it in there. It's like, okay, 40 minutes, I'll see you. Come on by, grab this chicken pie, go save the church group. You'll be a hero. So 40 minutes comes by, and there she is at the door with the entire church group of old ladies in tow. There may have been thousands of them, but I think there was like 7 or 8. And I'm in no condition to host people. My house is a nightmare. It's a disaster area. There's stuff everywhere. I've got boxes and stuff. And what do you suppose people are going to do when they walk into your house for the first time? They're going to look around. They're checking everything out. They're looking. They all kind of
You're
like
the new neighbor guy too.
Right. And I'm not expecting 8 elderly church women in my house. I'm expecting an elderly lady that needed to borrow my oven for a chicken pie. Yeah. And I'm like, well, this could get fun. So they're all shuffling into the kitchen and they're kind of standing around the oven looking at it. And there's a couple that are still looking around. And one, I picked the youngest and the weakest of the group that was falling laggard behind the rest of the old ladies as prey. Right. And she's kind of looking at this ring light.
Injured gazelle.
Yeah. Looking at this light and camera, looking back at the fireplace, back at the camera, back at the fire, because it looks like it's pointed right there. So I kind of just sneak up over her shoulder and just kind of clasp my hands and look over at her. And I was like, oh, I shoot pornography there. And she was like, you could hear her butt cheeks clenching where she, like pearls were grasped, eyeballs, and she like runs to get into the crowd of people. And I'm kind of snickering like, oh, that was funny. And then they left. And then 2 days goes by and I have a furious old lady that was cooking pies in my house just 48 hours earlier. Like, did you tell Mabel that you shoot porn in your house? I mean, what are you gonna do? Like, I thought it was funny. Like, she's like, oh my God, I can't stop talking about it. I was like, well, you got to give them a little something to talk about. Jeez. That is one quick way to get on somebody's prayer list without trying too hard is you're just gonna remember, like, you need these. So, it was. Yeah. It's like options trading on the stock market. You just got to put some calls where you need it. Trying to avoid those taxes on the overhead. Yeah, very, very fun time.
I love that story.
Most of the neighbors are pretty cool with me now. They kind of understand. Oh, he got here to get away from all the stuff that we're scared of. You know what I mean? The political climate in the cities and all that crazy.
Yeah, this was right when you moved in a couple like years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. And so like they have all come to know you very well in that neighborhood. And actually not only they kind of come to you and look to you for a lot of kind of like neighborhood leadership stuff and help. And so
still haven't seen Mabel come back by though.
Oh,
unfortunate. Well, yeah.
Maybe you're still on her prayer list though, at least.
Yeah, like I try to be approachable and pretty straightforward with them, Yeah.
The prayer worked. You're not continuing to shoot porn anymore. No. So
no, God, no. I'm severely underqualified to even think about that line of career. And I don't care. It was just, I thought it was funny because I didn't know what thoughts were going through her head, but like, why does this man have boxes everywhere and he's filming a fireplace? You know what I mean? And
it doesn't really matter that you never did.
It was too funny.
But
yeah.
But the fact is that you currently don't.
Mm-hmm.
So the prayer technically worked.
That's true.
So it kept you from getting into it.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit I have less than no desire to enter that line of work. Believe me. But yeah, the neighborhood is much older. I live in a pretty retirement community, more or less. But it's the old side of town. There aren't any HOAs here. Everyone's been here for a long time. Kind of struck in when the houses were first built, and I happened to move into this environment. But when you do that, what shocks me is that you're invested a little bit. You have to, whether you like your neighbors or not, you're invested. Like you are investing in a future that you have stake in and ownership in. And so you shouldn't be an asshole because you're part of the community that you're in. You know what I mean? Right. Like you will contribute to the puts and takes of the general sentiment of the street, which is a real thing. It's a living, breathing organism. And it shows, because there are some people that avert their gaze, and, or someone will go by and other people will start talking. And like, I'm not on the in crowd of that stuff, but you have to put yourself out there and be an active member of the community so that you can be somebody that people can come to for questions and things, which is way different than where I used to live. Like, the Seattle freeze is a very real thing where people will not make eye contact and they're constantly looking down or at their phones. And if you talk to somebody, they think you're going to sell them something or whatever. It's very hard to get to know your neighbors because they just don't care. And this is not that. And I found that to be kind of a striking sense of very, very, very low stakes priorities that you adopt in your life when you become a homeowner in a community where you're not the first one there, but yeah, it's been pretty cool, and I enjoy my neighbors a lot. So even if I give them shit once in a while, or say something crazy out of jest, it's been pretty good so far. Yeah.
Good. Let's revisit something. I mean, we're talking about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There was something else that happened 5 years ago.
Sure.
Oh, no, 6 years ago, essentially now. It's been 6 years that on occasion we've touched on, but I think we have enough distance on it that we can kind of give an appraisal on a very historically impactful thing that happened, which was the COVID era.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, and we've talked at great length about, for the last 2 years, 2.5 years, about how it impacted us, me specifically in my business in Seattle and with my family and stuff like that, and how it kind of launched us into this weird political life that we lead now with all the boomers. All of it stemmed from COVID, and then with you, it gave you an opportunity to move to where you live now, to get away from the states that were locking down the most, and to remove yourself from that political atmosphere. But we both lost friends. We both lost communities. We both lost a lot out of what that brought, on a political level, on a social level, and everywhere in between. But what have we seen that, as far as the actual COVID situation was, outside of all of the ramifications that came from it, what are we now seeing? What are we seeing in the country, in the world, but specifically in the country, in areas that we have, that has impacted us, and impacted our country? What is your take on it? What is your take on what, giving now a 30,000-foot view on it? It obviously hurt the economy. It obviously hurt small businesses. It obviously hurt that. But as far as the actual, what the virus did to people, or what the ramifications of how the virus was treated, how did that connect people or hurt people? Now, this area we haven't really talked about a lot. We've talked about the impacts of what the ramifications of the actions taken about it were, but not on kind of a medical level, not on kind of a what the hospitals and the doctors and the CDC and these people were doing, that right or wrong. However, you and I have talked about it on a personal level, but we've never really talked about that on the show. And that's kind of what I want to focus on, is like, what did COVID, and what are we seeing now 5 years, 6 years down the line? What ramifications did the actual virus do to people, or the protocols to handle it do to people?
Well, it's hard not to conflate some conspiracy and some political views and some ideological violations with all of how that was handled. But in essence, like, I can tell you my firsthand view with myself. So I am a person that suffers with immune deficiency problems and blood problems. And so I'm one of what's known early on as the more high at risk community of people that could contract SARS-CoV-2. And when this all kicked off, I remember I had saved up vacation time and I was coming back from Mexico in mid-December and almost stayed there an extra week because there was a shot to transfer cities to see a Formula One race. And I've never seen one live. And I love Formula One racing. So I almost did it. I was like, no, I got to head back. So get back, and pretty much the narrative at the time was, we have no idea, but this is getting serious to the point where we're going to ask everyone to grab their laptops and try to make do working from home for a week or two until we can clearly start calling people back in. That was 6 years ago, and nobody came back in, right? Like the world changed in a lot of different ways, but along the way, a lot of terror and fear porn was popping up all over the news, and it was centered right where I was living too. That was the problem. Most of the early reports, if people remember, is that old folks' homes they were losing people left and right, and this was right over in, I want to say, Kirkland, which is like 6 miles away from where I was living at that point in time, right across the bridge. And so, knowing that I have a bit of a medical history, and knowing that I don't take vaccines, normally speaking, not because I'm anti-vaccine, it's because I always get sick with dead culture virus vaccines. I always get sick because I don't have an immune system at all. So anything that raises hackles to try and introduce something that your immune system can adapt to and attack, mine just turns up and stays up and attacks every part of my body, and it's not good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know that this is a good idea. So I started looking at all the medical journals and, well, what do we know about this so far? And, by the time I'm deeply invested in this, because I haven't left the house, you're not allowed to, we're crunching into, Q2 of 2020. And it's like enough time has gone by where there's an actual deployment plan around the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. What does it do? Like, that's one of the things that a lot of people had some serious questions about. And it was, I think, certainly before I took notice of it, but definitely before there was a camps forming of, you're going to kill people if you don't take this virus vaccine. And then there's other people that are like, don't you stick me with a jab that until my questions are unanswered. So even before there was ideologues that were, building, and to this day, you'll see somebody driving, I'm not kidding you, with all their windows up and a mask on because, life changed. People broke around that time.
Anybody who's been to the Seattle airport in the last 5 years, even yesterday, you could walk around the Seattle airport and a third of the people are walking around with masks on there. It's absolutely bananas to me, but go ahead. Yeah.
So what I'm seeing at the time is a lot of body count popping up. And this is before, the gunshot wound that clearly took someone's life, but their blood showed trace amounts of COVID. So they added that body count to COVID was the reason that killed you, and all the stuff we're finding out about years down the line that conflated those numbers. I dug through, I'm no less than 10,000 pages of medical research on mRNA vaccines. How do they work? Because I don't know. All I know is I'm one of the highest risks. And at the time, and this is pivotal, at the time, if you didn't take a shot and you contracted SARS-CoV-2, they would not admit you into an emergency room.
Right.
Because you refused to take a shot. And it was like, well, I'm not refusing to take a shot.
All over the country.
I just need to know more about what's going in my body because I always have negative reactions to this stuff. So I talked to a few doctors who were probably tired of answering questions. I talked to a pharmacist who is outright an asshole and literally gave me an ultimatum that was like, well, you could get it or you could not and probably die. Not possibly die, not death could be an outcome of contracting unvaccinated COVID-19. It was simply, or you could die. And I was like, well, no one seems to have solid enough answers, but the early signs of catching this virus seem to be diminished some. And they're touting that these newer, because at the time Johnson & Johnson was the only one out there, and then Moderna started releasing. And it was like, well, the Moderna one seems to have higher yield of success factors than this one does. So I did more research, and I went through 4 or 5 consultations, truly, not just online asking Grok what the vaccine will do for me. And I elected to get the Moderna series shot. I said, okay, well, this is, and it was my decision before the hubbub around it. Now, in hindsight, would I have done that? No. And I have a million reasons why that we'll get into. But immediately I got the first shot, and like the instant brain fog is something that never truly went away. Like 90% of it went away, and there's still 10% of my mental faculties that are just slow as shit. Like, and people could be like, well, that's hyperbolic and you are getting older and people forget things over time and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm quite self-aware of my mental faculties at all times. And it's seriously was diminished, and it was bad in the moment, bad enough where at my home office, I would have my work phone in my hand and be like, when's my next meeting? Like 10 o'clock. All right, 10 o'clock. And I would set the phone down, and I'd be like, when's my next meeting? And I'd reopen it 10 o'clock. Okay, get there at 10 o'clock. What time was that? Bad. Like time is like starting to, so I'm like, this is not good. So I had ouchie arm, and there's a knot where that first shot went in, a big one. The second one was just above it, and it's not so bad, but there's something muscle balling that never really went away there. So it was pretty significant, whatever this was, this mRNA thing. And then the second shot to complete the series, I thought I was going to die. I got so damn sick, and I was like, I knew it because I had tested negative for COVID, and like, oh, I didn't catch COVID. This is directly resultant of the shot. I was out to the point, friends, I sweat through a queen size mattress and had to buy a new one because of the absolute state of filth that was that from me just shivering and sweating. I lost 13 or 14 pounds. I don't think I left my bed in almost 8 days. I had a fever that just rocked my universe I literally thought that was it. And now I'm interested in the ouchie arm's gone, but there's a knot there. But I'm starting to feel all of my like joints for no reason are falling apart. Like my arm is not moving the way I want it to. I have really weird neck pains and stuff like that. And I'm starting to look at like, what do we know about the long-term side effects of getting the shot? Now, if you're curious, I also caught COVID twice after that. So it's like, well, the shot you guys said was going to prevent me from getting all this crap, and I got it both times, knocked me on my ass. Again, the first time was rough, and the second time, I lost a big period of time. I was on a motorcycle trip, got sick, kicked out the motorcycle friends that were on the trip with me, stayed in that hotel room for 4 days, and just said, I have COVID, charge it to my card, whatever this is, and laid in bed with a gallon of water next to me and gummy bears. And I think it took me 3 days to eat 5 or 6 gummy bears. Same symptoms, high fever, whole 9 yards. As soon as my fever broke, I was like, all right, I need to get out of here and go home. Because also I'm in San Diego, California, where it's like $380 a night. Like this is getting expensive the longer I'm trying to keep myself away from other people. I don't even remember the ride home. 4.5 hours of my leaving that destination and coming home, and I don't remember any of it. Like, bike still packed, parked it in the garage, took my helmet off, took my jacket off, and passed out on the couch for another week. Just gone. And I'm like, I know my body doesn't take to sickness well. It almost never takes to vaccinations well. But what exactly did they shoot me with, and what are some of the longer term side effects that other people are getting? Because by 2021, if you remember, there's a ton of reports of heart issues, blood clots, myocarditis is happening, cardiac arrest is happening. And now it's not just the elderly
dying by the droves.
Yeah, but it's they had shifted the narrative from the elderly and the immunodeficient at risk to this is crushing or killing kids and young men, particularly with the heart, the inflamed heart stuff and the circulatory problems and the blood clots and all this stuff. So now you try to do some research. It's March 10th, 2026 as we're doing this. And it's still buried behind a CDC narrative of, yes, there are some side effects that we've been experiencing, but the correlation to the COVID vaccine can't really be made yet, and we need more time to figure this stuff out. And there are study after study after study that are popping up about, I'm going to mispronounce a lot of this, but Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's a neurological disorder that's found at a much higher rate, specifically following that Johnson & Johnson vaccine. But all mRNA vaccines are contributing to this case study. New and developing or mutated autoimmune conditions are happening, still have heart issues, still have blood clotting, still have myocarditis. And the idea around these, to the best of my knowledge, is the vaccine is supposed to teach your body to make a spike protein, and then that's going to self-destroy later on. And I think there's some research going on about the long-term low-level inflammation surrounding that spike protein not maybe falling off altogether. So thrombosis, and all these conditions are popping up, and people don't want to correlate it back to the fact that we took an mRNA vaccine with very little hard evidence and almost no sandbox study time before widespread deploy from no less than 3 in North America, major distributors of this vaccine we don't know a fucking thing about. Truly. Yeah. Like, so the narrative medically is still there, and maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic about my joints and stuff, and I am getting older and whatever, but like, I'm terrified to learn that, well, your heart's 4 times its size. You know, like, who knows what we did to ourselves at that point? And that's kind of what spurned on part of this conversation was like, well, where the fuck are we in 2026 from late 2019? This was popularized in mid-December 2019. It's been a long time for us to not have much more than a ghosted narrative that we're hiding behind. And the CDC still has on their site to this day, oh no, it's good to get the vaccine. It's going to help against everything. And the new mutated variants of this virus, we can quickly adapt this mRNA approach to account for all this other stuff. But we don't have any long-term hard case evidence correlating what exactly was going on with that to the wealth of health conditions that are starting to sprinkle up within a community of people that received that vaccine, which were a lot of us. And then you get into, by 2021 late, now I've got a narrative forming about what I'm learning, what was bullshit, the numbers are being fudged. I don't like what I'm hearing. I'm looking at a bunch of different, at this point, is when the Joe Rogan thing starts popping off with what was that? They called it horse medicine, but they use it for everything. Ivermectin's now up there. People are seeing real results, like from different things, but also the medical community at this point is now quite visibly backing off of having a contrary opinion to the CDC and the powers that be for fear of losing their own jobs or being ostracized by the community. And now I start to think to myself, maybe we didn't all think this through, and I was fed some lies that led me to a decision I already didn't want to make, but not because of a social narrative, because I know my body and I was just scared to do it. And rightfully so. I got my ass beat a bunch, and it was not good. And that's the medical and physical part. If I just try to divorce all the other reasons that later informed me to be like, looking back, I would have never done that ever. But it was not social pressure at the time. That came later. But it was not social pressure that led me to the decision back then. It truly was a medically driven, well, I don't want to die, so what do you know? And it seems 6 years later, to answer your question in a long-winded way, nobody has an answer. I mean, I've got 6 pages of all these conditions that are popping up, and the correlation is not direct causation in almost any one of these studies, but it is a bit of a wink and a nod to the vaccine.
Yeah.
And nobody has an answer that they have the balls enough to be like, this is this.
Yeah. I came, as you know, I came at it early on from a very different angle. And the reason why we never really kind of discussed this, I think, at length was because you had let me know that you had taken it, and I was actually scared for you once I heard that. But you're a grown man, and you had, compromised immune systems. And kind of the point of what we were all saying was the freedom to choose that medical treatment, whether you wanted to or not.
Yep.
If you want to take it, take it. If you don't, but it cannot be forced upon a population.
Right.
And
hello, Slance23, by the way. Didn't see you there. Sorry. Go on.
And that's kind of where we, you know, that was the ground that we were holding when we first started, because I got it early on. I got COVID like out of the gate. I got it before it was even named. I got it literally from military people from Joint Base McCord who had come to my tattoo shop in Seattle.
When was that? October? It was months before the stories were breaking, wasn't it?
I think it was like November. It was
November right before. Okay.
Right. And what had happened was a military team had just come back from the Wuhan military games in Wuhan, China, and actually went back to base. And they had a couple of days where they had to do a transfer where the guys who were on base got leave because the new, you know, the guys came back to take over for them. They got some leave. So they all decided to come in a group of 10 to come up to my tattoo shop and all get tattooed.
Not
and
uncommon.
We were all hanging
this
out with
happens during Seafair as well. Like,
right.
It's pretty, yeah.
So, and I mean, literally the next day I felt like absolute death. And I had gotten the flu. The last time I got the flu really bad is actually right after I took the flu shot for a job. And I swore never to do it again because I literally almost died. It almost killed me. And I was like, never again, never again. So, in this particular manner, you know, I was like, I know what the flu feels like. This is something different. And, you know, I had all these plans after work to go to the movies with a friend or go hang out and have dinner with another friend. And I canceled all of them. And I told my wife, I was like, I'm just going to go home and sleep to my apartment. And I'm going to drug up. I'm going to just take a bunch of Aleve and Dayquil and NyQuil and just, I have all these appointments. I can't back out of them because I'm, you know, it would be 4 months before these people could get back into the chair. So I'm just going to drug up and get to work. And I worked through all of it. I must have given it to 150 people. And then I drove home with a fever after a week and laid in bed for slept for 2 days, gave it to my kids. They had it for a couple of days. Aaron never got it until like a year later. But, yeah, I got it super early on, so I must have gotten kind of the OG strain because I never got it again. Like, I got exposed 100 times over the next 3 years. From clients who would call me the next day. I had close proximity. They're breathing all over me. I'm right there. And they're like, I'm so sorry. I feel I tested positive and I have it. I feel like death right now. I'm so sorry I exposed you. I was like, it's okay. It's fine. It didn't bother me. But even early on, everybody was scared. Everybody didn't know what was going on. I probably came to my personal conclusions a lot earlier than a lot of people did. And it was due to my dad. My dad almost died. My dad got it in April, and he's the prime candidate. He's in his mid-60s. He's had 2 heart attacks. He's got diabetes. He had a life of drinking and drugging.
Oh, he's hit every box of high risk. Yeah.
Hit every box, right? So, and we get a phone call saying that he's being admitted and that they're putting him on the ventilator, which at that point, anybody, and even further point, anybody who got put on the ventilator was pretty much, that was instant death. So we start trying to figure out, like, are they even going to let us travel? My dad lives in Indiana. Like, if he dies, what are we going to do? And they're like, oh, no, he's going to die. You guys need to make plans. And we're like, okay. Well, fortunately for us, his doctor at the time had been practicing medicine for 30 plus years, said, this is crazy. Anthony Fauci's an idiot. The media is lying. I'm going to give this man, to save his life, I'm going to give him hydroxychloroquine. And within 3 days of implementing that, my dad was off the ventilator. And 3 days later, he checked himself out of the hospital against the hospital. He got a taxi and went home and was gardening the next day. which then made us scratch our heads and go, wait a minute, if they're telling us this medication is a bunk medication, not, and are actually banning pharmacies from allowing the use of it, and this ivermectin stuff, what is going on? It just saved my dad's life. So
if I would have waited 6 months on that decision for continued research, that's exactly where I would have landed, because then it became you're evil if you don't jump on this bandwagon. And there was the banning of all the ivermectins and hydroxychloroquines and all these different things, where I was instantly I would have went, wait, there's fuckery here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And there was, because they were taking away any protocol that was actually would have helped everybody.
Yeah.
In fact, in my opinion, and I don't think it's just mine, I think that there is blood on the hands for every old person who died in this country by the CDC, by Anthony Fauci, and by all of the media who pushed this narrative, because of the fact that if they were offered ivermectin, if they were offered hydroxychloroquine, which were proven to be a very cheap and reliable way of healing this virus, but because their existence was a threat to the vaccines that they were producing,
right,
they needed the money for that. And so what they did is they banned anything that would be, they had to implement it in an emergency. That's why they sped it up.
And I think that's key to unpack for a second, because if the narrative had been, well, we could try it, let's try, people are dying, let's try it out, and we would have seen results, and that may have moved the needle a little bit, would have been a way better outcome, even with the existence of J&J, Moderna, and Pfizer pumping this stuff out by the shiploads. That would have changed.
They could have had years more to develop had they just allowed this type of protocols to be able to put into effect to save lives.
And I was at the early identified extreme risk group, which is the only reason I went back to considering vaccines after my negative experiences with them before. But I shit you not, had I waited 6 months to start watching this unfold, because as soon as it did, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's in there then? And like, what did you give us then?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now I just came across this channel and I'm having a hard time finding it again. But there's a new website out, and it's kind of a documentary type of website where they're taking testimonials from people. And it's, everyone from a few survivors, but mainly the families of elderly people that got admitted into those hospitals during that time frame. And they were not only not giving them the protocols that would have saved their lives, they were actively letting them die and when I say actively, I mean not that they just didn't give them the protocols and they put them on a ventilator. They were refusing them food and water, like up to 9 and 10 days without water, where the person is screaming and their families are on the other side of these glass windows, banging on the windows going, there's nothing we can do. We can't get in there. And the hospital will not give it to you. And the amount of testimonials in this case is paramount to them putting COVID patients into old folks' homes all over New Jersey and New York and Pennsylvania during that time frame, and even in Washington, where they were literally using them instead of like using the Javits Center in New York that was set up for it, or that ship that was off the coast that was set up for it. They were actively killing people to bolster their death numbers. Now, one of the things that came into play in my life after my wife did all the research on the efficacy of masks, my wife did what you did, but she dug in so deep that she learned how to read medical journals, not only in the United States, but also in Europe, so that she can have a point of comparison.
When I got to that point, like in my own research, I knew already masks were horseshit, where I was like, this is not
absolutely
even close to what we're dealing with here. So
not even remotely.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, often make
I was not buying the propaganda even when I took it, because I was arguing with the person giving me the shot. But totally with you. But
it's kind of a cliche that you see all the time, argument, but it's kind of the best case of the way to describe it. But like those masks were like trying to keep sand from going through a chain link fence.
Right.
That, you know, the microns of a virus are so small that there was nothing, even with the what were the M95 masks or whatever, those that they talked about for surgeons, and surgeons even know that those masks don't contain viruses. Those are so that bacteria, which is a much bigger particle, didn't go into their patient. Yeah. Or their patient's bacteria didn't go into them. And it was fitted on by another nurse, and they were only left on for 1 to 6 hours at a time, depending on how long that surgery was. It was replaced by somebody in a sterile way, and it was fitted to their faces. None of that was even close. The protocols to do the social distancing and the 10 feet apart and all of that was all made up nonsense. Turns out, as time has gone on, they admitted that all of it was made up nonsense. And it was just to create public fear so that you would then be directed to getting this vaccine that they were sold a bill of goods that this vaccine was not only going to help you survive, but it was going to keep you from getting it and spreading it, which was also all lies.
And remember,
none of that was true, and they knew that.
At the time that I made the decision to do this, that was the prevailing. There were two big prevailing narratives.
Right.
One was, we can guarantee that this spreads through touch contact. That's how volatile this is. So people are Clorox wiping down their television sets at home. You know what I mean? Like, this is the nature of the state of
There's
us
plexiglass
at this point.
Screens everywhere that made no sense.
Correct. And it's like, not only are you infinitely higher percentile chance, if identified in the high to extreme risk, which I clearly fit the bill of, you won't get medical attention. You are going to spread this even through touch.
Which is criminal.
And
which is against any Hippocratic oath that anybody's ever taken ever.
Yep. And like, doctors I talk to are reinforcing this narrative in the moment. And there's a preventative measure where not only will you not get the virus, but you won't spread the virus. And I'm having conversations with people that are close to me about, like, I'm still scared of this, but I'm guessing this is the way to go. We've not seen anything like this since, you know, the Black Plague, essentially, on scale that this is rapidly increasing to. 6 months later, I'm hearing I'm not going to take no Trump shot type of stuff. And you're like, oh, I see. All of the alternative potential, let's just try this, is hard no, take the shot or you can't get groceries. Hard no, and if you're taking it, it's horse dewormer and you're a fucking kook. Hard no, and if you're a bro science Joe Rogan head, then you deserve to die. 6 months later, all the signs of this being kind of horse shit, man, I wish I would have waited.
Well, in the meantime, they are green lighting protesting for George Floyd, where no one is social distancing. Everyone is clumped together.
The virus takes vacation days from infecting people that are out protesting, as long as it's for social good.
Right. And there's ridiculous stuff like people using hand sanitizer on their gloves, you know, or the restaurant nonsense, which was hilarious to me, that you had to wear a mask until you were sitting down, because apparently the virus only gets standing up people. I don't know. Like, it made literally no sense.
You couldn't go into the grocery store until an allotted time if you were in a certain age group, you know.
Yeah.
I saw an old man get body checked for a can of beans, and I ripped it out of the dude's hand that assaulted him and gave it back to him. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is a society that we're living
in the middle of this.
Right. In civilized North America in 2021, 2022.
We weren't here. I stopped going to Washington and in the state of Idaho, none of that nonsense was going on.
I'm like, we're fighting old men for a can of beans. Get the fuck out of here, or I'll beat your ass. COVID or not, you know, helped the man back to his feet and gave him his beans back. It was brutal, dude. And I was because remember, I left. I got in my truck and I drove across the country, and I'm like, I have to get out of this environment. Like, I need to make a decision on what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And that's what led me to this house. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, all of that nonsense was going on, and we were watching it around the country.
Yep.
We weren't allowing it here in North Idaho. It was the safe haven where clients of mine would come over from Seattle terrified.
Right.
And they'd come in wearing masks. And by the end of the day, after I'm done tattooing them, I'm taking them to a restaurant because they haven't been in one in 4 months.
Right.
You know, and they're looking around and going, this is normal? I was like, yeah, this is normal. Do you understand that the mountains don't stop the virus? Do you understand that the clean air doesn't do that? I was like, you need to understand that you have been fed a lot of nonsense and that you are being fear-mongered into compliance.
Yep.
And they're just like, oh, wow. And most of those people either moved here or moved out of the Seattle area into more rural areas because they were like, oh, this is a mind virus. This is not, you know, it's more that than it is an actual physical virus. So all of that was going on. Now, during that time frame, I sat in the corner of my shop and I did not require masks. I said, if you want to wear one, you're welcome to do it. Half my crew did, and they were the ones that were, you know, far more left leaning, and they were scared. And I have a horseshoe shaped shop. There's a wall down the middle, and they all moved over to one side of the shop. There was musical chairs. They all moved over there. All the ones that were just like, we're not doing this.
Yep.
They all stayed on this side of the shop. The ones that got the vaccine and were wearing masks, they all got COVID. We never did. But I sat in the corner of that shop and did kind of a social experiment for a couple of years. It was like 2.5 years where I was really kind of watching every single person who walked through that door, every single one of them. I would take a look at them. They'd be wearing a mask. They'd look around. They'd be there for about 10 minutes, and then they would take it off. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, all right. If they didn't take it off, which was about probably 5 to 10% of them, if they didn't take it off, they didn't leave. They hung out in a room full of people not wearing masks, up close proximity, getting tattooed. And I'm like, okay, you would think that you would go running out of here if there was a bunch of unsafe people here. But they didn't. Not one person in any amount of time from the time that COVID started till today, not one person turned around and went, I can't be in here. It's a dangerous place, and left. Not a single one. Now, that being said, it made me realize that, oh, it's a political statement. It has nothing to do with health. That mask is the equivalent of the left's.
It's your tangible virtue signal. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's their MAGA hat. And it shows where they stand politically and socially.
That's what it became. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and then one fateful evening, right after, it was like in the winter, I think it was right before Christmas, I got an email from a guy who wanted to come in. I had tattooed his brother apparently the year before, and he had been a walk-in, and he got this black and gray goose, like a realistic goose on his, with a forestry background in water and stuff, and he wanted that, and I did a really good job on it, and he loved it. So his brother had said, if you're coming over here, this is the guy you got to go to. And so he goes, hey, I'm coming from Seattle. My family lives there in Coeur d'Alene, and I want to get this bird on my arm. And I was like, cool, no big deal. Come on over. So he comes over, and he walks in, and he's wearing a mask. Within 10 minutes, he takes it off. And I had no idea anything. I didn't know this guy's story or anything. And turns out, I go, so what do you do? You know, and I get the bird on, it's on the inside of his arm. So my face is as close as it is to this microphone right here. Like as I'm tattooing the inside of his arm, like we're right in each other's bubble. And he goes, I'm the head administrator for 5 Seattle area hospitals. The head administrator. And I went, oh yeah? And I locked him in. I was like, then I've got a lot of questions for you. And he goes, okay. And he kind of like went, uh-oh. And it turns out his wife, and he did that, but his wife and kids lived here because she was a teacher over here. And the kids all were in this school district, and he would come over periodically and they'd go back and forth, right? So, but this guy sat there, and I just grilled him of all the kind of hot questions that were going on during the middle of COVID. And I was like, is it true? And keep in mind, this man had no obligation to medicine. He had no Hippocratic oath. His whole thing was for the well-being of the financial health
he's running
of
businesses.
those hospitals.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit about the health of humans. That's not his thing. As long as, we're in the black, which at the time they were talking about how the hospitals were being overrun and that there wasn't enough beds for everybody and that all of this craziness was going on. And so I got down to brass tacks, and he fully admitted. I wish I had recorded this. I had the wherewithal to record it, but he fully admitted that, oh yeah, no, we get paid an enormous amount of money if anyone tests positive, and then even more if we treat them, and even more if they die with it. So we're tagging everybody with it.
There's a financial incentive there. Yep.
Right. He said, we're running a skeleton crew now. We've let all of the nursing staff go, but all the maintenance staff go, all of the food staff, they're all gone. We're running a skeleton crew. We're not using half of the supplies, none of the equipment or the machinery. There's no maintenance. We're making more money than we've ever made ever. And he also was like, yeah. And I was like, is it true that in order for any hospital at any normal time that they have to be at 96% capacity for them to even get out of the red in any normal time? So they want to be full. They like flu season because what it does is that it creates a full hospital, which then they actually start making money as a business. And he goes, no, that's absolutely true. If in fact they aren't full, if they're at 80% capacity or 70% capacity, then we're paying staff that doesn't need to be there. Right. Not only that, but we're, we just don't make money. We take a loss. So they like to be at 96% capacity, but the only reason that they were overflowing is that they were letting nurses go.
For grants too.
Right.
Yeah.
But they were laying nurses off. They were at half staff, but that means that they couldn't. It was by the bed. Yeah. So if the beds had enough staff for them, because each nurse is assigned to 5 beds, and if they only had so many nurses, that means they could only staff 5 beds. Yep. Right. So it had nothing to do with it being bursting at the seams with all these people with COVID. Nothing at all. Those numbers were completely bolstered by the media because they wanted to look like they were in a state of crisis, which they were not ever. Not one hospital in this country was at a state of crisis. So, and so that's, when you start finding stuff like that out, from the source, from the guy who runs these hospitals. And he's saying, oh yeah, we're tagging everybody with COVID so we can make money. And then at the time, our lieutenant governor, Janice McGeehan, had found, because of the hospital crisis, the staffing crisis, she goes, okay, tell you what. She found all of these really high tech, super futuristic kind of modules that were set up that you could have for 6 months or you could keep them there forever, but they were really inexpensive and they were really high tech. And she goes, we can find it within the state budget to provide every hospital with 2 of these. And it will absolutely make it so that we have now the ability to take care of the overflow, to take care of all the, the fact that we're bursting at the seams. And they went, cool, go talk to all the hospital directors to see how many they need. And then we'll get you the money for it. And so she went to every single hospital in the state of Idaho, called all the directors. Guess how many of them asked for a module?
0.
0. 0. And she went, none of you want them? I thought you guys were in crisis state. Don't you need more beds? This will provide you with 200 more beds. What are you talking about? And they're just don't need them. Don't need them. so we never got them because we never needed them. And he goes, yeah, that makes sense. And so this guy was openly telling me this stuff, which was just confirmation for all of the things that we had already been suspecting for a while through my wife's research and through all the things that we were privy to within our kind of groups. And so, it's really what got us super angry at the system. I was already pretty skeptical of the medical system anyway, having dealt with them with stuff with my kids and what they were trying to do with my son Oliver and trying to tell us that he had a cognitive learning disability, well, all sorts of stuff. I already had my issues, and none of my kids were vaccinated. Neither of my kids were vaccinated. I refused to let it happen, and I don't know why. It was kind of a story that my mom was pretty against vaccines. My sister was never vaccinated, but I was, and she kind of correlates a lot of my allergies to that. And I was really ill as a child.
It's a very interesting question I'm going to ask you about that, because this is leading me way back in time. You and I are both products of California State. We're not too divergent in age.
Right.
Were you given, at the request of the state, a bunch of vaccinations as a child, probably kindergarten, first grade level, early grade school at some point, like just a battery of weird immunizations back in the day?
Yes, up into a certain age range when my mom kind of steered away from that. But yeah, early on, yes. Yeah, I was definitely.
So was I, and my sister wasn't. And I've suffered through a ton of like biological issues, medical stuff back and forth. Like just, if a common cold goes breezing through town, I'm on death's door kind of stuff. And I'm like, what did they give us back then, dude? Like, because I've always had negative reactions, and I'm like, what were in those? And like, there's stuff in the immunization records I can't get on myself from California statistics.
They're straight up lying about my daughters. My daughter didn't get any of them. I was there the entire time. I never left the room, and she just got her immunization records, and it says she got a whole bunch of them at ages like 2, 3, 5, and I'm like, she didn't get any of those, and they're totally lying about it. I don't know why, but she just got them, and she's like, you said I didn't get vaccines, and I was like, you didn't, and she's like, not according to this piece of paper that I just got from the doctors, and I was like, well, that's odd, because I never left the room, and I would have noticed if somebody shoved a needle in you. Like, sorry, I was there for all of it. I was there for every single time you've ever stepped foot in a doctor's, and I never left your sight because of issues when you were 3 months old. You had RSV, you were in the hospital for a week, and I never left the room because they were trying to do shady stuff, and I wouldn't let them do it. And they called me the non-compliant parent.
Yep.
And I was okay with that. And I never stopped being that. Anytime you went to the doctor, I never left your side. And
I wonder if we just weren't set up for success with whatever they shot us up with back then. Because I remember getting shots when I was younger. I don't know what the fuck was in them, and I still don't know to this day. Not all of them. But it's like,
my mom was
creepy.
on the tip of it right after me, and so my sister never got them. And then when the kids were babies, like when Kate was a baby, like Aaron had to work, so I had to take Kate to get her first round of immunization. And I went to the doctor, and to this day, it was like, I cannot explain it outside of it being God, that the Lord literally talked to me, and he goes, you can't let this happen. And I got chills, and I was like, no, we'll do it another time. Now's not the time. We're not doing this today. And they tried to force me to do it, and I refused. And I got in the car, and as I'm driving, it was just a wellness checkup, but it was also supposed to be the immunization. So I got in the car, and I called Aaron, and I was like, babe, everything's great. Like, she's in the high percentiles, all the stuff. Everything's perfect, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't allow her to get the vaccines. We need to have a talk about this. And Erin just accepted it, which was super odd for her too. She goes, no, that makes sense. That's okay. I'm all right with it. And from that point on, we just never did. And our kids have always been incredibly healthy, incredibly bright, like ahead of the class on everything. If they got sick, it was way shorter. Like even in daycare, all the kids were all snotty and nasty. And always lingered. If they got whooping cough, it would last weeks.
Yeah.
Our kids would get it for 2 or 3 days and they'd be done and it would be over with for them. And they were consistently, if they got sick, their immune systems would just knock it out. And I think it compromises immune systems. I think anybody who is immunocompromised, I think that anybody who has the ever growing expansion of autoimmune diseases, I think all of them are caused by exactly this, because they bombarded our immune systems
with crazy shit.
With shit that we don't even know what it is. Like no one in the anti-vax world is actually anti-vax, as long as you're talking about the real concept of vaccines, which is, like kills like, building up an immunity to a, the idea of the science is sound. However, that's not what they're putting in you. And the laundry list of ingredients that are on the side of these things and the laundry list of side effects that is employed with it, like these are the things that we've just been blindly trusting doctors to inject our children with for decades. And now we wonder why, we can argue the autism thing, which actually there's been document drops that have now suggested that there is a massive connection to it. And, which, anybody who said that 5 years ago, 10 years ago was ridiculed into the ground that they didn't know what they were talking about. But now it's coming out that, actually it has a lot to do with it. But even that, just the autoimmune diseases that never existed before, that they still really don't know what to do with. Like if you have an autoimmune disease, it could be one of 50.
I'm living proof of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And they can't do anything about it because they don't know what caused it and they don't know how to fix it. So that, all of those things combined, and the fact is that we were criminally and have been criminally for decades trespassed upon with what was supposed to be a trusted science of these people that I now more than ever, I make jokes that, I make the joke, what do you call someone who finished last at medical school? Doctor. And it's due to the fact that we don't see their GPA on that certificate on the wall. And the reality is money most of the time, and not every time. There are good doctors out there, don't get me wrong, but most of the time, and I'd say in the highest percentile, you're looking at a D student whose money got him through his parents' money got him through med school. Anybody who was working their way through med school based on grades alone typically couldn't afford to make it all the way through. Some of them did. And some of the rich kids were actually decent human beings who became good doctors. But the reality is that most doctors are D students, and we're just giving them full genius access that we have.
Well, yeah. And that's the kind of the social conundrum today is I'm perfectly fine saying the idea, particularly of a dead culture virus vaccine, the idea of this makes good sense. And if it works for you, go get one. And that's great for you. If the same could be said for me, but it doesn't work well for me, and I routinely get sick and fall over and, I'm hospitalized when I get a fever kind of stuff, and I choose not to take it because they don't work for me, I'm labeled as a crackpot anti-vaxxer weirdo. And it's like, that's not really how I feel about it. But I have a long and dark and mysterious history with vaccines dating back to early grade school that I still can't get access to whatever was done during those times. And you're right, for what it's worth, we've just given somebody in a white coat with a stethoscope around their neck carte blanche access to our futures in a lot of ways without asking a ton of questions. And even as I look at the data now, it's still hiding behind a narrative. But we still don't have enough time. There's there's reason to raise an eyebrow here, but it can't be direct causal links because, for whatever reasons
but we're still seeing.
It's crazy.
We're still seeing not only the physical after effects of the biggest experiment ever taken upon humankind.
Oh, certainly from a social engineering perspective, this was mountains of data on what we as a species will do to one another or comply with in a moment's notice. Like if we take the physical and the medical out of it, yeah, this was egregious.
Yeah, and it was it was criminally egregious as to implementing against the better judgment of even the man like Dr. Malone who invented the mRNA, sequencing. He was like, you can't do this to the population. And he was ostracized as somebody who was the most respected person in his field, was ostracized for going against the narrative. He had to go on all of the kooky websites to try to get his message out. And this is the man who invented it. When we're talking about like the COVID tests and the guy who invented that, what was his name? Dr. Carey. And he had died a couple years ago. He was a surfer guy, but he'd won awards for being, whatever the science awards are. But like
a Mark Twain award or something.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, he was on record. They went to his house in like the late 90s and actually interviewed him when they were talking the PCR tests, and he goes, you can't detect viruses with this. Like, that's not what it's meant for. And then from that point, so they were making money off of all those tests that were false positives. And on top of that, he was like, they brought up the idea of Dr. Fauci, and he's on record. You can still find it on YouTube all over the place if you look it up. He literally sits there. He goes, there is nobody in the science field that takes that guy seriously. He is a joke amongst all of us. The guy doesn't even know how to use a microscope. He has no business being in anywhere near our fields. And for some reason, people are taking him seriously. And then you look into his past and like the fact that he was just injecting children with the AIDS virus and killing puppies and all sorts of insanity.
It's really mad scientist shit. Like that could be its own podcast, like deciphering 100%. Anthony Fauci.
Like Anthony Fauci is a podcast in and of himself.
It's like borderline satanic behavior. What this guy's been,
I would say less than borderline. I would say full blown.
It's rough when you see what this guy was called out for by his own peer group over the years. Yeah.
And where has he been lately?
I think
we haven't heard a peep from that guy.
I think he's living in or near Israel with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That's what social media is telling me.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They're not dead. They're alive and in Israel. Why would they be there? I wonder.
But yeah, so all of that being said, like, I think from all the data we collected over the years, but just looking back on it and just going, there's a lot more still to come out that we're going to see. We're at the beginning stages of the physical issues that people, we've saw 3 years or so of people dropping dead playing soccer or football or, all of these different things. And I think it's only going to get worse. Teenagers that are just dying in the middle of sports, and fertility issues. I think we talk a lot about the heart issues in men, but the fertility issues in women is going to be astronomical. And like you were talking about spike proteins before, and the shedding of spike proteins, there on more than one occasion with more than one person, like couple that I've talked to, they had friends who came from one of the dark regions, California or Washington, who were living in those areas that were fully up to their 3rd or 4th booster.
Right. And
they came over for a visit into Idaho. And one of them who had gone through menopause 4 or 5 years prior, all of a sudden, because of her proximity to this woman who was pumping off of these spike proteins and shedding them, she started having a menstrual cycle while they were there, and it just started and was going crazy. And then the minute they left, it stopped, and she never had one again. And so that happened to that couple twice. So they had another test trial of it, and they came back over from Washington, and like 6 months later to do another visit. They were like best friends back in the day. And this lady shows up. She starts it again the very day that lady showed up.
That's
within
insane.
hours. And
Wow.
Right. And so, and these are people that I know and trust. These are people that are like, it was wild. I have been through menopause already. We're good to go. That's never happening again. This lady shows up twice in 6 months, and both times I started back up. And then another one where a younger girl who hadn't started menopause, it kept her from having a cycle after visiting with friends for multiple months. She thought she was pregnant. She wasn't pregnant, couldn't figure out what it was. And, but man, there's going to be a slew of tumors. There's going to be a slew of hysterectomies. There's going to be infertility. Women their reproductive systems have been completely ravaged by this, and we're going to see it in a detrimental way when the birthing rates drop dramatically. And I mean, there was even a TV show that kind of told us that this was what was going on, called Utopia, which I watched. If you haven't watched Utopia, it gives you the narrative of what they did to us in a adventure TV show that was based off of a British show from 2014, based off of a comic book from 2012. So, and this all came out, the American version on Amazon came out in 2019, and it was so close to home that they had to put up a disclaimer saying this doesn't actually relate to anything currently going on.
Yeah.
At the beginning of every episode. It's crazy. But this is something that I think was planned. It was something I think that it was implemented. And that actually kind of takes us into our conspiracy corner.
It does.
The planning of this.
This was a fun find.
Yeah, this is actually coming from you. Normally I handle conspiracy corner, and you hit me up this week, and normally I kind of stay away from this topic because of the sensitivity of the fact that I was like, I don't want to offend Angel because he took the vaccine.
And that's the other thing. Like, I should clear the air on this. Like, I'm no longer confident in the decision that I made, but I am extraordinarily confident that I made the best decision with the information that I was equipped with, without influence. Yeah, you know, so, you know, and I get people that are like, oh, you're one of the people that took the shot. And it's like, all right, well, in hindsight,
I wasn't mad, but I also didn't want to kind of go hard on it. I was like, you know, and you're like, well, I took it.
Well, and here's the sickening part. I can't untake the shot no matter how I feel about it. So I just hope that, you know what I mean? It's like, I made a decision that was the best one for me with the best amount of knowledge I was able to aggregate. But looking back and seeing the signs, now it's like, I probably would have done things a little bit differently for all these reasons, and a slew of other reasons we should get into, but maybe later on, because I didn't expect to do an hour and a half on this. But there's so much more that to me is just banana sandwiches that was like, this, none of this makes sense. Like, ugh. Anyway, conspiracy corner.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm letting you take the reins on this one because you're the one who sent me over this information, and it was, how do you say, shocking, not shocking? You know, like one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, this confirms things, but it is a wild ride that hopefully, you know, gets publicly disseminated to a point where people realize that this wasn't arbitrary. All the stuff that we just talked about, from our childhood vaccines to the COVID situation, none of it was arbitrary.
Yeah.
And there's proof of it now. So go ahead and let her rip, bud, because it was crazy.
So it started with researching kind of what I wanted to talk about on if I could find anything new medically relevant about COVID. And then it led me to some declassified CIA documents. And anytime there's anything close or adjacent to MK Ultra, I'm stoked. So I started scouring for social media and then found a post, which is where I introduced you to this idea. But there's a post from April of 1952, which predates MK Ultra.
Which, real quick, by the way, I pulled up multiple articles of this. So, and this is from the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
This is from actual. Why? Oh, wow. Courageous disclosure. Okay. But yeah, like multiple, like.
Your internet's failing. No.
This is.
Oh, there you are.
The internet's failing.
Yeah, you froze for a second. Anyway, you found multiple articles. Yes.
Okay, but like multiple articles from reliable and regular normal websites like the Daily Mail, not like kooky conspiracycorner.com. You know, like this is legit happened. This isn't something that can even be speculated upon. This stuff that you're about to talk about, like I'm looking at an article right now from the Daily Mail on exactly this.
So the idea is around, principally, if we're to distill it, is around behavioral control plans. And it predates MK Ultra to reveal systematic plans, lots of them, from 1952-ish, according to the doc that I had sent you on social media, essentially to control human behavior through all kinds of methods that would include witting or unwitting drug administration, hypnosis, electroshock, and there's a ton of stuff from early phases of something called Project Artichoke and Project Bluebird, which are programs focused on interrogation techniques designed to control an individual to the point where they would perform acts against their will. Principal use case in the 1950s was targeted toward assassination. That's kind of what they wanted to figure out. So a lot of these declassified records include like daily calendars of CIA operatives and memoranda highlighting several initiatives from that time period, targeting subjects, super expert recruitment. There's a memo calling for the recruitment and training of super experts in psychiatry, psychology, medicine, the application of electroshock therapy, the usage of LSD, hypnosis, all kinds of stuff that became very popular in MK Ultra, which has a way bigger umbrella than I thought. But we're seeing documents here. In particularly, this is a post that I had sent to you. The headline for this: it's believed that scientific research should be undertaken to develop new chemicals or drugs to improve known elements for use in the artichoke work. So that's what I was referencing a minute ago. And its study should be made to determine what drugs are best suited for direct use on subjects along the lines of amytol and pentothal, which I think is the truth serum drug, or supposed to be, which are best to treat for a long-range approach to different subjects. The second type of drug should be one that could be administered over a considerable period of time, possibly being placed in food or water that would either have an agitating effect, producing anxiety, nervousness, tension, depression. The list goes on and on and on. And then the effective application of this could be from anywhere from cola, beer, liquor, cigarettes, also to vaccinations or shots in the medical community. From 1952, they had mad scientist plans from declassified documents on special research for programs that have umbrella programs that did become wildly popular. This being the precursor to MK Ultra, which has been widely covered. Unbelievable.
That was during the church trials, actually.
Yeah, since 2020 and 2021, a great number of humanity received a highly neurotoxic agent masquerading as a vaccination if you were to apply it to the exact same methodology we were just talking about with these documents. So I'm already in on whatever this conspiracy is I'm trying to articulate, but what should be known 100%. Is it's pretty obvious that there were designs on behavioral modification and producing or inducing artificial anxiety, nervousness, tension, etc., through a wide swath of direct or indirect means, up to and including vaccinations and food. Crazy shit.
Yeah, crazy. Like
they had a blueprint for this
at the same
decades
time,
ago.
And this is just another check mark on the conspiracy theorists were right, like bingo card. Like it's literally at this point a 60 points for conspiracy theorists and 0 points for all the skeptics. Like the track record just keeps getting better and better. But like, yeah, during the 73 Church Committee trials, which coincidentally, Frank Church, the congressman, was actually a congressman from Idaho. He was a Democrat from Idaho who actually put together the Church Committee, which is what exposed Project Bluebird and MK Ultra and all of that during that time frame, and where the CIA was forced under congressional hearing to admit to all of this stuff. But I don't know how much was actually spoken about Operation Artichoke. Well, I don't know if they even thought about to do it during
Here's
those
why
trials.
I think they did. There's 3 context things I want to pose to you and get your reaction on. The first, from the 1950s era, is what I would mark as a shift in ownership or a shift in responsibility. These projects, according to some of these documents, the Artichoke one specifically, shift from the Office of Scientific Intelligence to the Office of Security, which generally signals a move of operationalizing an idea. When you go from this department to this department, that's that. The goal seemed to be, during Cold War, was to create a truth serum, to force confessions and things, or to reprogram the human mind. And MK Ultra was very much operationally tested on a bunch of different areas that we have unfathomable amounts of data to corroborate. To the effect that they're as dreamy and weird and loopy as they are, I don't think we'll ever know. But the scope is the third point. The projects routinely targeted vulnerable individuals without their knowledge or consent, including foreign agents, prisoners, and sometimes ordinary citizens. As it developed later, that's widely known with MK. Those are 3 points.
Yeah.
Where's the responsibility? It's in an operational state by the mid 50s. It goes from OSI to Office of Security. And then the goal, in what I think their main aims were, was truth serum and reprogramming the human mind, hopefully making unwitting assassins of these people. And obviously the scope was pretty broad for targeting people with or without their consent. I would posit to you on those 3 points, probably was a lot more operational, this Artichoke thing, long before they, mothballed that and reprogrammed it into, or branched it off into, I don't know what came first, Bluebird or this, now that all these numbers are out there. But certainly MK Ultra. I think it was way more operational early.
And honestly, I fully agree with you. I think that it was operational very early. I think that which is why you started seeing all the processed foods in the 50s. That became a thing in the 50s. They started offering TV dinners and microwave ovens and all of these things that, were processed foods, boxed foods. They started, at that time frame, they started conditioning all the water. You weren't just getting water from a well anymore. They started having water treatment plants, telling you could get diseases unless we treat it for you.
Right.
All of these things. The rainwater collection law started happening during the right. So all of these things started happening exactly at that point, right? So, and then it gets shuffled over into different agencies, such as the Department of Health and Welfare, to the CDC.
Surely the recruits
all of these other agencies
that they grabbed from those industries were definitely at the forefront of the concept for this stuff in the early 50s.
And I would imagine a lot of this had its basis in a lot of the scientists that they brought over from Germany during World War II.
Yeah.
The Germans. But Bayer was one of the Nazi scientists. So like all of anything that came out of Bayer was based out of Nazi Germany. So all of this stuff is all based around this document that they did implement and then did shuffle into different agencies and has been implemented for a long time. Now, one of the things that I also think was the motive was not just mind control, and I think it was also implemented to dull humans, to make them sick and dependent on the medical industry, on pharmaceuticals, because they need us docile, they need us compliant, they need us sick and just sick enough that we can continue working the cogs, but not so sick that we are then useless to the powers that be, the ones who are implementing things.
And this is the best. This is the best that the internet will give you when you ask it. It will say, while MK Ultra is the best known program starting in 53, surely these 1952 documents show the CIA was already deeply engaged in intensive, unethical behavior modification research prior to that, including the investigation of whether a subject could be made to commit acts against their will.
Yeah. And then you look at the mental health crisis that's going on in the United States right now. You're talking about schizophrenia on a rise that, I mean, we had so much mental health. Think about between the 50s and the 80s. We had mental institutions. They all got shut down during the Reagan administration because they were too full and we could not staff them. So he took them away because the increasingly massive rise of mental health issues, that crazy people, the idea of lobotomies was during that time frame because we were having such issues with it. Now we know that not all the lobotomies that were done to people were for legitimate reasons, but electroshock therapy, all of that stuff came around exactly in the 50s. And so that was the turning point from when they decided that medical science was going to then take the reins of the American people and that they were going to steer them in the direction that they choose rather than the direction that humanity chose for itself. And
this is not too far removed from the practice of lobotomizing people, so they had to get a little more clever with new ways of doing that. What frightens me most about these documents,
and generationally,
what frightens me most about these is the outlines on their research to administer any kind of substance without detection via aerosols, common vaccines, food, bottled beverages, and so on. So they had a pretty egregious working blueprint of how to drive literally anything to the masses way back in the early 50s. And I feel moving the responsibility from OSI to OSS means that that's probably an operational wing of whatever this concept made it out to. And then MK Ultra 100%. Starts.
Yep.
Crazy. I'm in on this one. Whether this is
100%.
Look over here because something else is happening, which we talk about a lot or not. I'm 100% in on this one. And I thought you'd get a kick out of reading through some of that stuff. I don't know. What was your thought? Like going through it? Like, yep.
Well, I mean, this is something that, in my family and growing up with my mom, and this is stuff that was already on the table for me, we already kind of put this into our kind of factual lexicon as stuff that we already knew. However, it was fascinating to see a CIA document that tied it all together, that tied it to MK Ultra, that tied it to all of that, and that it was a legitimate CIA document that was like, oh yeah, we've been doing this. This is a smoking gun for anybody who scoffed at this kind of stuff. And that's what excited me about it, was the fact that, oh, you can't even deny it anymore. Right. The CIA fully admitted to this. Here's the document. Like, we were right about this, and it wasn't just us being paranoid.
Right. Like,
it is literally what was.
I'm not buying into RFK hook, line, and sinker all the time, but for all the man's faults, he is onto some stuff with some of the, you have to have genetically engineered food labeling on your food. Like, you have to know where this stuff comes from.
Do you think a lot of this stuff is already illegal in Europe.
Right.
Like in most of Western Europe, none of the stuff that we allow here, any of the red dyes, and like most of the vaccines, most of any type of the pesticides, any of those, all of the things, the water treatment stuff, none of it is allowed over there.
Yeah.
None of it. They've literally banned all of it. I even watched some, like, I think it's called Jolly, and it's like these two British guys that come to America and try food a lot, and they bring it back over there. And they bring over stuff that they're like, yeah, this is actually illegal here because of the red dye that's in it.
Right.
Like, we can't get this in England. Stuff like that. So like it's already over there that they've decided to kind of pull away from this a couple of decades ago. And I think if RFK has one task to do, I think it would be not only exposing all this stuff, which he's doing, but also kind of opening up the eyes to the American people that we need to not only backtrack, but kind of maybe punish some of the things that were implemented on the American people without its knowledge, that has put us generationally in dire straits with our health, with our families' health, with the idea that we were sold a bill of goods because they with an appeal to authority, because we knew that, or we've been told that no one knows better than the doctor.
Right.
Everything you've ever been told, consult your doctor, consult your doctor. And then you sit there on the couch and you watch these pharmaceutical commercials, and the laundry list of like, it's
Follow
literally,
that
you're
food
going to shit yourself.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to shit yourself and die if you take this medication, but at least you won't have ringing in your ears. Right. Like,
I know where this is going to hurt me the most. When I find out there's some nefarious shit inside that powdered cheese blend in a Kraft mac and cheese box, that's the devastating point for me, where it's like, I love that stuff. It's bad for you.
And actually, it's not only is it bad for you, but on a list of things that it's bad for you, it's near the top, dude.
It's the worst.
No, and I've seen some studies on it. It is like there's 3 things that are at the top of that list, and Kraft macaroni and cheese powder is like literally near the top.
Yeah,
I know. I know. Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, and that's
stay away from the blue box and give me something.
They would get us addicted to it.
Yeah,
and that's what they knew.
Yeah, and that's the other part too. Is like it is not feasible for everybody to grow their own food present day, but where you can, you should. And keep an eye on this stuff. Look into this stuff. Yeah. This is declassified documents that some, if not most, but certainly some of the concepts we're talking about today were operationalized for the better part of 2 decades in a clandestine nature, and the reach is something we may never know how far that extends. But the players involved in the concept of this stuff are specialists and tops of their field across all kinds of industries in America. Medical industry, farming community, food makers, scientists, everybody was in on this. Wow, pretty stark to see this stuff. How far it reaches today, I don't know. I can only assume worst case scenario. But that said, it's conspiracy corner, and it's kind of interesting to think about. But I thought you would get a bit of a kick out of seeing that now that it's kind of making rounds. So.
Yeah, absolutely. It was something that I found, like I said at the beginning, shocking, not shocking, but it was more kind of a like fist pump kind of victory lap on stuff that, I've been aware of even from the late 80s, when my parents thought I was old enough to kind of understand loosely some of these concepts. They were living off grid, and growing all of our own food and not vaccinating the kids for a reason, you know, and they weren't hippies either. They weren't like, you know, flower child weirdos out living on in
Northern California
in some
tree
hippie
people.
village.
Yeah.
Right. No, they were just regular folk that were just like, no, like they had kind of the precognition to be able to see what the writing on the wall was way before the internet even existed, which was pretty impressive. And as I get older, I start to recognize that a lot of the stuff was like pretty legitimate.
There's a lot of memes running around about all the things that are coming out now that conspiracy theorists were right about, like on a checkbox and stuff. It's pretty stark where you're like cloud seeding, chemtrails, MK Ultra, like all this,
all of that.
It's like, oh man.
Yeah. I got a pretty good batting average so
turning
far.
out to have a pretty good batting average.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I'm totally in on this. I have been for years, but the CIA document cements it for me more than I've ever been kind of convinced of something. And if you guys want to, it just makes sense.
If you guys want to see it, you should search up the title of the document that I was referencing, at least for this, was called Special Research for Artichoke. So take a look into that.
And if you can't find it, at least you'll probably get a decent recipe out of it.
True.
Yeah.
Probably.
So good artichoke recipes. So.
All right, that was Conspiracy Corner.
Yes. That was a good one, dude. I'm glad that you sent me over that stuff, and that was the one that we went with this week, because I was really excited for that one. So obviously I'm very passionate about it. It came out probably a little more aggressively than normal in that segment for me. Yeah, for sure.
If there's a CIA document drop that comes out, I'm probably going to try and RSS feed it and consume it. So
totally.
So what do we got?
Do you want to go to a lighter note, something that's a little less? Yeah. So
I think it's
let's go to this week's. This week's dope. So the dope this week, I have long, and it was long before even COVID, but especially during COVID, I was a huge proponent of, when all the small businesses were struggling, that I would go spend money, because I was making a lot of money during that time frame because everybody was getting tattooed during COVID. Yeah. And so what I saw was a lot of friends who owned restaurants and who owned small businesses. And I made a concerted effort, a very large effort, of not only spending my money there, but pushing other people to go there as well. Mm-hmm. And I did that even prior to COVID. Like, even when I was living in Seattle, if I had a friend who had a business, I would spend my money with them. I've always been a huge proponent of small businesses. So one of the things that I've come across on my Instagram feed and my my Facebook feed, and there's other channels like this, but this one is the one that kind of I gravitated to the most. And it's this kid, and his name is Sam Alvera, and he's a Mexican kid from Dallas, Texas. And I want to say he's in his like early 20s, 23 maybe. Yeah. Young baby-faced kid. You don't really see him a lot in the videos, because the whole point of the videos that he has, and he goes by Sam POV1. So, and he's on TikTok. He's got 2.3 million followers on TikTok. That's his main platform, but he goes over to his other platforms, and he's got a website and stuff. But almost all social media he's across, but he's got a ton of followers. He's a real quiet kid. He's really polite. He's not rambunctious or looking to be in the spotlight on the camera. In fact, the camera, he has those glasses, the eyeglasses that have the cameras in them. Yeah. And he will go a lot in his region, but then he'll go to other areas. He'll travel to different states, or he'll go like just further out in Texas or go over to Arizona or whatever, and he will find small mom and pop restaurants, and it's anything from Thai food to Vietnamese food to African cuisines to Greek food places. It doesn't matter. If he will find mom and pop shops that seem to have good food, but can't seem to get business because they're older people running a joint, or people have just forgotten about them. And he'll go in there with the glasses and take a table, and there's typically nobody else in the restaurant except for him. And he'll order a bunch of food, and you watch him eat the food, and you can hear him kind of talking to himself, where he's like, this is delicious. I don't know. Like, and he'll get recommendations from the owners, and then the owners don't really even know what he's doing most of the time, unless like a young hostess or a cook recognizes him from his TikTok channel. But for the most part, he goes in there incognito, doesn't announce himself, pays for all the food, is super polite. He does this thing where he gets like a can of Diet Coke and he clicks it twice. It's kind of his trademark thing. But he is because of his following, he'll go into these places, order a bunch of food, and talk highly about the people and of the atmosphere and the food. And then he leaves them a huge tip, and then he leaves. And then he'll always come back around and do updates when, after he posts that video, they get flooded with people. Like, overwhelmed to the point where they're like exhausted because they don't have enough staff for the amount of, and they're running out of food because of the amount of people that he brings into their door just by his presence, just by his quiet nature, going in there and enjoying their food and their atmosphere and bringing it to a huge audience and saying, you need to try this place. And this kid doesn't have to do this. He's a 23-year-old kid, a good-looking kid that could do whatever he wants. And he sometimes, I've seen a couple videos where he's brought his mother with him to these places. And then he comes back to check in on them, and he orders a bunch of food, and they try never letting him pay. But these owners are hugging him and going, you saved our restaurant. You saved our family. You saved, you have no idea what you've done for us. And he goes, oh, it's okay. I just love your food. And he sits down and orders more food and eats it again, and they won't let him pay. So he always goes, oh, then let me buy this water, and then leaves a giant tip on there. They're like, you can't do that. And he's like, oh, no, I gotcha. And it's just very charming. He's a charming young man who has a good head about him. He's got a good sense about him. He's has an enormous heart for these people. He's got an enormous heart for just people in general. And it's rare. It's rare for a kid in this day and age to have that type of ambition to help other people to the level that he does, and set up all of his social media around it. He could be doing anything. He could be racing cars. He could be doing prank videos. He could be doing anything he wants, but he chooses to spend all of his time and money to helping these people out, to help out their businesses. And I just think it's really commendable. It's heartfelt, and it's a pocket of joy on the internet, and a pocket of real good-natured amazing content. And I highly recommend him. His name's Sam POV 1-1, and it's from his point of view, and they are heartwarming. Plus, you get to see a lot of really cool food that you may not be familiar with, and if he's ever in your neck of the woods, you can get recommendations and go try out the places that he recommends, and go try new food, new cuisine, and help people out with him and join his journey and actually be a part of like this mission that he's put himself on. And I just highly recommend it. It's just a pocket of joy on the internet, and it's my dope of the week. Sam POV1 on TikTok and on Instagram and Facebook, and I think he has his own website too. But
I love it. I also think there should be the antithesis of Sam POV1, where it's like a random dude goes into a bunch of different tattoo shops, gets really good or really bad work done. That could be so much more tragic.
He's always in a constant state of lasering one limb while he's getting the other one done, and then just rotates out. So that way he's always got fresh skin. It'd be hilarious. But yeah, so
all right.
Did you watch any movies this week?
I did. I watched a very, very old movie. I watched The Godfather Part 2.
Oh, nice.
Because a couple months ago I watched the first one. And it's a really, really, really interesting timeline for a character study, but I did it because it's a classic movie and there's awesome lines in it, and it's, you know, what I think of when I hear Al Pacino, you know what I mean? But it's not anything worth reviewing. It's been out for a million years. Everyone's seen it. But it was really good rewatch, that's for sure. They've remastered it on the streaming services, so you can hear what they're saying, even, you know, with the whispering going on in the background as the car's driving by and stuff. They did a really good job with it.
Cool. Excellent. I'll have to revisit this. I haven't in a while. My daughter and her boyfriend are currently going for the first time. They're going through The Sopranos, which I'd never watched. So I'm kind of watching.
It hits pretty hard. Like that's one of my all-time prestige TV series for sure. The Wire's up there too. Kind of the early days of it, but that's
those HBO bangers from the get-go.
That if you haven't done a Sopranos run through, it's worth your time. It's pretty good. I don't like the way it ended. I don't think many people did, but you know, that when you have that big of an epic thing, and HBO's pretty good at this. Game of Thrones comes years later, on and on. They do this a lot, but it's pretty good.
Well, speaking of legacy IPs, I had been kind of waiting for this one to pop up on streaming services because I was such a fan, as most of the world was, in 1993 when Jurassic Park came to the theater. And it was an amazing adaptation and a fairly true to the book adaptation with some caveats of Michael Crichton's classic book, Jurassic Park. Since then, as the world knows, we got 3 Jurassic Park movies, and now we are on the 4th Jurassic World movie.
Yeah. Now they're into Fast and the Furious territory with just pumping these out. Yeah.
Yep. The second Jurassic Park was I thought it was pretty terrible.
The third one is egregiously bad.
Yeah. So, and I think they like Jurassic World wasn't terrible, but it was basically just a redo of the original Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's the one with Star-Lord in it the first time, right?
Yeah. And so, and then they did 2 more Jurassic World movies, which I don't know if I watched both of them. I can't remember. They kind of blur together. But they're not memorable enough to bring to mind. So, but I started seeing trailers for this new Jurassic Park movie that looked to be that it had a much darker tone to it in an almost horror film kind of way. And I found that interesting. I was like, oh, I like this take. A much more kind of rated R version of dinosaurs eating people, you know, rather than it being kind of
Scarlett Johansson. Right? Okay.
Scarlett Johansson took the helm here as the lead role. And it had a decent cast, but I kid you not that this movie called Jurassic World Rebirth, and without trying to be too crass, but trying to reflect exactly what this movie was, it should have been called Jurassic Park Abortion, because it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And it was due to the dialogue. Like, the special effects were fine.
Yeah.
The adventure of it was fine. But the decision making and the character development and the dialogue was so egregiously bad that I had, and my wife's in the kitchen while I'm watching this. It was like, oh, I got to watch this and review it. So I'm on the couch and I'm kind of like drawing and doing other stuff, and I'm stopping drawing and pausing the movie to go, why are they even talking about, like, over and over again? I'm pausing this action adventure movie, and my wife is dying laughing because I'm losing my crap in the living room, just like, this is insane. Like, why would they do this? And over and over and over again, every character decision, like, it starts off with this family that is a dad and his young daughter, like 10 years old, and his teenage daughter, who's like 17 or 18, and her lazy, pot smoking, dumb boyfriend that the dad is really trying to like but doesn't like him. And they are literally sailing as a family trip across illegal waters over the equator, because according to this, there's no one who's allowed to sail there because that's where all the dinosaurs have moved to, because that's the only place that they can actually survive. So it is illegal for them to be doing this.
Sorna and Isla Nublar and all the islands of make-believe where the dinosaurs went. Because this was the exact premise of one of the other ones, probably 3, but it was like the dad and the son were filming themselves parasailing, and then the boat goes through mist and then crashes on, and now dinosaurs, and like, So is this very similar? They get stranded on one of these?
But now this is to the point where dinosaurs are everywhere.
Sure.
Like, they're driving through New York, and one of the brontosauruses had gotten out of the zoo and had created a traffic jam because it was dying, and no one paid attention. Everyone was just like, ugh, it's in the way, including Scarlett Johansson as they drove by it because it's dying in the middle of New York.
This is why we shouldn't bring back the dire wolf. She just kind of
glances at it.
Just stop.
Right. So she kind of glances at it and just continues on with her conversation. And it's meant to tell you that society is so used to this stuff.
Right.
But this family gets attacked by a large seafaring dinosaur of some kind, flips the boat. They all survive. They get the beacon thing. And our heroes, who are been contracted by Big Dinosaur.
Big Dino.
Yeah, Big Dino. They, on their secret mission with their special ops group to go collect DNA from 3 different types of dinosaurs that have long lives for medical purposes. And of course, they bring the museum archaeologist guy as the expert. And they go there, and they're almost to the island, and they get this distress call from this family. They go pick up the family and help them out. And they're on the boat and they're still in blankets, and they're feeding them and like, oh, everything's good. But there's obviously a major technical operation going on here, and these people are obviously off to do something. They're not just cruising around illegal waters to pick up random families, right? And this family has the audacity to be like, they're like, okay, we're going to go do our thing, and then we'll find an island, like this island, to drop you off. And they're like, what are you talking about? You're dropping us off right now. What are you guys doing here? And they're just like questioning, like, out of nowhere what the operation, and this daughter's like about to fist fight some spec ops guys.
There's no reason at all for the level of self-righteousness, but there it is.
And then at some point they're being attacked and chased, and that whole family jumps ship, and then one of them, like, the teenage daughter, had fallen off because she was trying to stop somebody. She was trying to call for help, and one of the guys tried to stop her and said, we're not supposed to be out here. You can't make that call. You're not on your boat. She goes, I don't care. I'm making the call. And then they get hit by a big creature, tipping the ship. She goes sliding backwards and is hanging on. And the guy she had punched that guy, so he fell on the ground, and he's like shaking his head and like looks up, and she's holding on for dear life. She goes, save me. And before the guy could even get up, she falls. And then it's implicated that the whole point of everything is that guy let her die. She didn't die, but that he didn't care if she did, and let her fall, and that was the main problem, not the mutated dinosaurs all over this island that are literally trying to kill everyone there. They don't throw, hey, we'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
It becomes the central focus of this girl. Like,
Yeah,
they're being attacked by dinosaurs. She's like, you tried to kill me.
The gun
and
is
like,
the problem, not the crime.
Right, exactly. And so, like, it's logical errors in how every player of this entire movie interacted with each other, including Scarlett Johansson, including everything. It was so absurd. The ending was ridiculous. The whole thing was a flaming bag of nightmare, and it was so much garbage that, like, I watched it to the end, but it was a struggle. I give this, just for the fact that there were dinosaurs in it, even though I don't think any of those dinosaurs actually existed in real life. They felt like medieval dragon, like mock-ups, like none of them. I was like, how did you know that thing had a weird flappy thing on its head?
Right.
Like, and then they had the big bad, which was like a big lumpy headed, like four-armed thing. None of it. And of course, this island was the experiment island where they were doing DNA splicing and stuff like that.
Sure.
This is where
so it's more like
it was
Resident
the island
Evil.
of misfit toys.
Yeah,
it was Resident Evil meets the island of misfit toys, is what it was. So, and that's where they were. So of course there was aberrations to the regular dinosaurs, but every choice was a mistake. The whole family being there didn't even need to be there. Like that, I thought, okay, they're injecting kids into this as they do in all the other Jurassic Park movies to give you a sense of urgency to save the children. I couldn't have cared if that whole family died. Like, they never met back up until the end with the rest of the group. They did their own thing, where then you find out that the dad really respects the stoner boyfriend. And like, none of it mattered. And it was terrible writing, terrible acting.
This is why you don't let Chat GPT write movie scripts.
And that's exactly what it felt like. Yeah. That's exactly what it felt like. And so I give literally, I would say, 1.5 tail end megs of this movie. That's how bad it was. And honestly, I wish the meg would just eat this movie entirely. So,
well, I have an alternative script idea that I'd like to posit. Okay. I am interested in softening my posture on the consumption of fossil fuels in favor of alternative energies. What if we say, bring back the dinosaurs? Now petrol is a renewable fuel source, right? And it's sponsored by Sinclair, who has a photo of the dinosaur on their gas station logo. Right. And then be like, we need these dinosaur bones to make more gasoline, so it's a renewable energy. Now people can calm their jets a little bit on like wind and solar and electricity. Oh, dude, what we'll do is we'll mass production farm them like they do with chickens. We'll just keep them in cages, feed them to make their bones more fatty and bigger. Feed them nothing but like corn syrup, and it's just a bunch of stegosauruses that are led to slaughter for the production of gasoline. I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm and then we'll in have on the renewable energy suddenly. This is yeah, no, I think that's a solid plan. I don't know. We could workshop it a little bit, but anyway. Hey, did you want to know what the Overlord tip of the week is? I sure do. I cannot wait. Well, we are at number 20, my friend. 20 times we've told you what to do. Here we go. So, there are hallmarks of villainry, of bad guys, of dictators, of people who are, and one of the hallmarks typically is, and I don't know if it's psychologically it's due to the fact that this is probably one of their insecurities, that they had a weird laugh, but a maniacal laugh might have possibly created the villain, or I don't know, chicken and egg situation. Right. Did you become the Overlord and then
craft a maniacal laugh, or did the maniacal laugh that you had put you under such scrutiny that you're like, I'll get them, and became an overlord? It's one or the other, right?
Sure.
So, but in this particular case, the real tip here is despite its proven stress relieving effect, as laughter does, laughter is a healer.
It's the best medicine. Yeah,
it is. I will not indulge in maniacal laughter because it does open up an opportunity. When so occupied with your own laughter, your maniacal laughter, it is too easy to miss unexpected developments that a more attentive individual could adjust to accordingly.
Yeah.
So oftentimes you see guys in midstream of their maniacal laughter, after they think that they've put their fist down on the table and that the plan is going to go into effect, but they've taken that time to then self-indulge with this laughter of dominance, and they're laughing maniacally, and that's when the captured the captor or the captive takes his opportunity. And you see it over and over again, mid laugh, someone gets a shot off. Just keep focused, keep your eyes on the goal. You celebrate when you
don't overindulge.
When you got some distance on it.
Yeah. Too sanguine an approach.
Wait until you got some distance.
Chill out. Yeah. Be a little level-headed. I like this.
Time to laugh. There's time to laugh, and there's time to overlord. Now is the time to overlord. Laughter later. So
it's great stuff.
And that's so that is number 20 of the Overlord tips. So
wow, there you have it. What a show. Overlord tip 20 in the books. Awesome. You got anything else going on? You got an anniversary coming up soonish. Happy anniversary in 7 days.
And that actually leads me to something.
Sure.
I think that means that I will not be able to be here next week.
You're not going to pod while you're on your anniversary?
I don't know if we're even going to have internet. Our anniversary is on the 17th.
He's like, whatever, I got you a couch, and then grab a microphone and set up in the corner, during a hot tub, just chilling with a cocktail and a microphone.
If I could, man, I would totally do that.
No, have a good time.
Broadcasting from the middle of the Idaho woods,
right?
From this hot tub facing a mountain.
Well, enjoy.
Yeah.
That's congratulations again to the both of you.
Thank you.
And we will probably see y'all in a couple weeks, I think, because my next week is on fire as well. But we gave you 2.5 hours of content today, so enjoy it.
That is true.
Yeah. All right, friends. Well, we will see you soon.
All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good night.